Just waiting for 8 o'clock here. We're going to do this every Thursday, just so that everybody's aware and can plan for this. This is kind of a last minute thing today, as you can see. Um, the main thing is we're just going to be we're going to talk about national news. We're going to talk about local news here, League City, Houston in general, stuff that's going on like that. And now that it's 8 o'clock, we'll just start this. But expectations will be that this is where folks can come in, ask questions as to like what's going on. Feel free to kind of talk about things and whatnot, and ask those questions that are burning in their minds without fear of feeling stupid or anything like that. We're just going to go ahead and address everything as we go, and away we will go. So, anyways, just want to get started here. First of all, the big news is that on 96 right here in front of Tuscan Lakes, there is a Whataburger that is supposed to be opening up, and it is planned to be open February 2nd. So, February 2nd, do Whataburger. So for me, you're talking, I'm going to be able to get my breakfast taquitos, which is my favorite thing for Whataburger. Typically get those on Saturday morning before I go and put signs out in whatever neighborhood that we're doing an open house in. There's some exciting things coming. There's supposed to be a Rustic coming to this part of town. I know there's already a little Woodrow's, McIntyre's, Whiskey River. There's a bunch of bars that are moving south to this part of town. They're popular in other parts of Houston and are going to be coming soon to the area. Another one is Kirby Ice House is supposed to be opening up a location down here as well. And lots of excitement there. The other news going on right now is Donald Trump made an announcement that he is going to be doing all kinds of things to try to get this real estate market rolling. So in order to do that, one of the things is he's injecting, first of all, he banned or plans to ban a large like hedge funds, investors from purchasing real estate. Me personally, I think that's a great idea. I know that a lot of people, you have the idea, and this kind of segues into the next part, is you got mortgage-backed securities. So mortgage-backed securities are a big part of what went wrong with the 2008 crash. And a big part of that had to do with the fact that those mortgage-backed securities were being packaged. Some mortgages that were riskier than others were giving a high grade and were being packaged with other mortgages that also had a high grade, and therefore just falsely identifying them as a less risky mortgage to purchase as a security. So anyways, what should happen, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, with $200 billion being injected basically into the market, should help rates come down. With the fact that the number one key reason that people haven't bought a home in the last 3 years has to do with interest rates. That's a big deal, right? Like that's the thing that's keeping people from making a purchase. Number one, folks that don't need to move, like it's really hard for you to leave a house that you are getting or already have a mortgage that's at 2-3%, and then trade that for another one. So there's two other things that came out where Trump was trying to come up with ideas on how to make housing more affordable. Talked about 50-year mortgages. Sure, great. Who that helps the most actually is, in my mind, investors. What that does is it makes the payments lower, and it can obviously potentially make payments lower for the average consumer. However, who it helps out the most are your typical flip and hold investors. So Why am I saying that? Well, first of all, 50-year, like if you compare 15-year mortgage to 30-year mortgage, typically the rates are higher, right? So higher on the 30-year mortgage. So I'm assuming 50-year mortgage would also be similar in a higher interest rate. Great. Great for the bank, not so great for the buyer. The thing is that the 50-year mortgage, just like you would when you compare buying a car, you've got, the 36 month, 48 month, 60 month, 72 month, whatever your term of your loan is. Obviously, you get a higher rate the longer you go. And what you're looking for is a lower monthly payment. You're ending up paying more in interest. And at the same time, you're because of the length of the loan, it makes up the difference, right? So same kind of scenario here with mortgages, and 50-year mortgage would be no different than 15 versus 30, whatever. And you're going to have probably a higher interest rate. Your payments will be lower. However, you're going to be paying a larger amount of money over time on that loan. So that's one of the things with that. What that does is that allows investors to cash flow, which is kind of a difficult thing right now if you're not putting enough money down or not paying cash for these homes, to be able to cash flow them monthly. And the main thing that investors are looking for in properties is, number one, can you cash flow them? Can you make a profit? And over time, the value of the home is going to increase. That's what's appreciation is called, and equity, right? So the more you pay on it, the more equity you should have. Plus, the appreciation of the home when you go to sell it later on should increase your value, whatever. That's also why you have 1031 exchanges, so that you can offset the taxes, like where you don't have to pay capital gains tax on the real estate that you've invested in. There are all kinds of basically tax havens, tax breaks, whatever that are involved in real estate investing. And if you want to get into a lot of detail, most company or countries, what is well known basically in leadership across the world is that a lot of times that the wealth of a nation is tied to the real estate, right? And if you can invest in real estate, you can earn more, what you would call self or sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Your net worth, right? You're increasing your net worth at the same time as you're also increasing the amount of money that you are gaining in your monthly profit, right? So sorry, losing my mind a little bit. So anyways, talking about that, 50-year mortgages cost less, cash flow more, right? So the goal, typically you want to be somewhere around $500 a month was what most investors kind of look for, and what they can gain monthly on a flip and hold. The one thing, I've spoken with many investors, and one of the things where there's flippers that try to make money right away, what they find is that if they make a mistake, say they over improve or do too much to the property where it's not matching, the value is not matching what the market is, and this and that and whatever, and they can't get the money out of it that they want, what they end up doing is holding it for a period of time until which they can offload it at the profit that they want to or need to make in order to take that money and reinvest. So a lot of times what you're going to end up seeing is people using the BRRRR method. Okay. BRRRR method is short for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And so basically the steps that you're doing is you purchase a house. That's where the buy is. You rehab it, and you want to do things that are mostly renter proof. So you probably take your biggest ticket item that's most likely to go down the soonest. So say if you have an older AC unit, you're going to want to replace that. If the roof is, 12 to 15 years old, you're going to have to replace that basically in order to, for it to be insured, number one. And, as roofs age, I know that there's, 30-year shingles, but basically most insurance companies will not cover you beyond 15 years. And it's now even getting to be 10 years. So don't get me into the whole insurance thing. But the main thing is that if you can't insure it, you can't own it. And so therefore, if you got it with a mortgage, therefore, you're going to want to do that in order to do that. So you take your biggest ticket items, you take care of those first, and then you try to renter proof the house as much as you can. So typically, you're going to have to repaint probably all the walls. Flooring, you're going to want to go to some sort of tile. I wouldn't do hardwood floors, but maybe like a laminate. Luxury vinyl plank, I know, is also very popular right now due to its durability. But you want a durable floor. Hardwoods take a lot of maintenance. Probably not going to want to do that. Porcelain tile, I've lived with porcelain tile before. If you drop stuff on it, you're going to break it. But it looks so nice. It looks so nice. So anyways, you're going to want to make sure that you do things to renter proof the house so that when that renter moves out, that security deposit is really all you're using to be able to flip the house again. So paint, whatever needs to be done. The reason that most people don't get their deposits back is the walls are beat up. So you have to repaint. Something maybe got wrong with the flooring. Maybe there's a giant stain and you're not able to get it out with a steam cleaning. There's all kinds of things that kind of go into that. And at the same time, you're not going to get your deposit back if those are items that need to be replaced, repaired, whatever. So I know a lot of people complain that they don't get their deposits back. And it's sort of kind of designed to be that way because what they're going to do is they're going to use that to paint the house and kind of offset the costs of one tenant to the next. So a lot of times, unless you go ahead and do all the things up front, you're going to probably have to pay that deposit. Or that deposit's not coming back to you at least. So just be prepared for that. Again, one more reason not to rent, right? Me personally, I'm not a huge fan of renting unless it's a short-term solution. Whether you're moving to a new area, you need to check out like what neighborhoods that you want to think about living in, this, that, and whatever. You obviously don't want to make a long-term investment in a place like that. Maybe you're a serviceman in the military or something like that. You're not going to be there very long, so you could potentially do that for a short period of time. Me personally, if you can purchase, you have the ability to purchase, my suggestion is purchase. And you're going to want to do that. The plan is that you want to live there for at least 5 years. Okay. Most of the payments you're making in those first 5 years are going to be payments primarily on your interest. You're not going to be putting a lot of money into your principal. As you can see, amortization schedules push all of the interest into the first 5 years for the most part. And then it starts to slowly decline after that. Why is that? Because banks want to make money. Banks are making these investments and want to get that return on their investment right away. So they're going to get theirs first, and then you get your second. And so that's just the way it is. It's the way that banks are structured, and that's how banks are profitable. So that being said, that's kind of what's going on with that. And it's a benefit. A 50-year mortgage is a benefit in most cases to an investor. They're not going to make as much money on the appreciation, obviously, because the interest is going to be being paid up front for a longer period of time. That isn't really that big of a deal for most investors, because what they'll do is they'll take money from other houses, pay it down, try to pay down the principal faster, things like that. Other investors are all about leveraging the bank. Now, the thing is, for a lot of investors, is that you get 10 Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac type loans. So those are your conventional loans, FHA, whatever. Those are the government-backed ones. Those are the ones that are, usually your best ones. You're not going to want to do a ton of hard money loans with them. Hard money loans a lot of times get used to purchase the property up front, and then they'll refinance if they can with a Freddie Mae or a Fannie Mac or Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan. And, it makes it it makes it a little bit more secure, right? It's secure as a secure loan. So that's kind of what goes on with that. The other thing that has been in the news lately is they talking about portable loans. I'm not exactly sure how that's different from taking the equity of a home that you're already in and moving it on to the next one, because essentially what you have is you have a loan on the house, and what they say that you can do is you can take that loan and then move it to another house. Okay, great. That loan on this house, say it's a $500,000 house, you owe $300,000 on it. That's what you have left. You would then take that portable loan and move that on to the next one. And then there's going to be a difference, right, between the equity or the sales price of what your current home is, that $300,000, and then the price of the new home. Typically, most people are upsizing. I'm not sure, and even downsizing right now in this market, you're almost paying the same amount of money for the house that you're purchasing as what the equity is in it, right? So that's the tough situation right now, is that it's just hard to do that, and that's the reason that a lot of people have chosen not to sell over the last few years. So, anyways, that being said, in my mind, it's the exact same thing as selling your house, taking the equity, using it to purchase the next one, and the difference, obviously, is what between your equity and what the house is now being sold for, what you're purchasing the house for, and there's going to be a gap. So that gap is what you're going to have to take the loan out. So let's say that the next house that you purchase is a $600,000 house. So you're basically putting 50% down. You're only financing 300,000 of it, and that 300,000 is going to be at the new rate that you purchased it at. Okay, I don't see how that's any different, portable loan versus using your equity to purchase the next one. I don't know what exactly they're trying to do. The purpose of the overall thing that everybody needs to pay attention to is that they recognize that affordability is a problem, and that because of that, they're doing things to try to make it more affordable. Is that a problem? No, I don't think it is. I think that that's a fantastic idea, and that they're trying to be creative and coming up with solutions on how to be able to open the floodgates of the real estate market that's been dead for the last 3 years. These last 3 years have been the worst 3 years, including 2008 with the market crashing, right? And all you folks that are saying, oh, the market's going to crash, there are no indicators right now that show that the real estate market's going to crash or behave anything like the 2008 market. What most people need to understand is that the biggest difference between the 2008 market and this current market is that there was a lot of stated income loans. There were a lot of people that now wouldn't be able to afford the homes that they were purchasing back then. And they've tightened the rules on lending and all the things that's like TILA-RESPA, all of those acts and stuff are out to protect the consumer from their own stupidity. Okay. And I say that in a loose way, because it's not really stupidity. It's just the fact that we as a country and as an education system do not spend time on explaining how to build wealth or how wealth works in this country. And so one of the things that I'm on a kind of a mission to do with these podcasts, with these things, is to educate the consumer so that we have more knowledgeable people out there making informed decisions. And with informed decisions, people at least are getting what they intend to get. Like back then, and even now, it's just not very clear as to what all these things meant. And now TILA-RESPA basically puts out that you have to disclose every fee. You've got so many days to be able to review what your monthly payments are going to be, and this and that, and all these things. There's a preliminary disclosure that comes out right off the bat that tells you kind of worst case scenario about what is going to happen, what it's going to cost, what your down payment's going to be, what your fees are going to be with the lender, and all those things. Okay. And I'm not a licensed lender, so I'm not going to talk about rates or anything like that. I'm just kind of talking about the process of how all this works. Now, that being said, okay, we want to make sure that we're like educating the regular public as to how these things go. And for me, this was a big eye opener, because even as a teacher and a football coach for 12 years before I got into this real estate industry, we purchased a house, new construction, and had no idea what things looked like. We purchased new construction home in a neighborhood that had a certain tax rate that is associated with a MUD, okay, municipal utility district here in Texas, we call those. And basically what that is that the developer of the neighborhood wants to basically defer the responsibility of bringing the utilities and infrastructure to a particular neighborhood and put it on the people who live in the neighborhood. And so what they're doing is they're bringing the utilities, the roads, and all those things to the neighborhood, and they're putting a tax on it to be able to pay it off. It's almost like a bond, okay? And there's two different types. There's MUDs and there's PIDs. PIDs are basically tied to individual properties, whereas MUDs are dispersed across the entire group of the district, right? And that those are paid off until they're paid off. And there's a MUD board that can then also bring on more bonds to pay for items. So for an example, there's a neighborhood that's nearby, Marbella. And one of the things that Marbella had to do, they had a nutria rat problem where the nutria were basically tearing apart their retention ponds. And so in order to avoid those costs, they were trying to trap them and then release them in different places. And then some neighbors were like basically acting as animal activists and were, rescuing the nutria from these traps and stuff like that. And the MUD board was like, if you guys continue to do that, they're causing damage that's going to cost millions of dollars to have to restructure the ponds and all that stuff. So anyways, before I ended up moving out of there, I saw them starting to do work on like basically dredging those ponds and then resetting, the banks, because what was happening is the nutria were tearing up the banks, which then hurt the integrity of the ponds, right? The retention ponds, which could cause flooding issues and all kinds of other things down the road. And so a lot of the neighbors were upset as well. These activists, so-called activists that lived in the neighborhood that were rescuing the nutria from the traps, right? Like it was supposed to be a humane way to relocate the nutria. And instead, there was some, vigilante justice, where some people took it upon themselves to eliminate the issue in a maybe less humane, I don't know. I think it's, my personal opinion on it is, if you relocate, I'd rather relocate them than knock them and kill them. Okay. End them. I don't want to talk about that, but yeah, I mean, those are the things that come up like in a MUD board. So anyways, these are the things that are affecting the price of a house. And so we didn't know that our tax value was only like $40,000 when we purchased the house, and that the land, the lot that was improved upon when we put a $230,000 house on there, all of a sudden the value went from $40,000 to $230,000 that we were paying the taxes on, and didn't realize that it was going to jump our mortgage payments so much to catch up on what was short in the escrow account. So these are all things that are super important for homeowners to know about as they go through the process. These are things that I think should be taught in maybe a seminar, even webinar or whatever. But there are all kinds of little things that people don't talk about that come with homeownership. And ultimately, all of those things, still, as much of a hassle as they are, still add up to being a better situation than most for rent versus buy. So I don't really want to get into all that tonight. We can do that another time. But ultimately, in the long grand scheme of things, you need to think of your house as basically a piggy bank. Every payment that you put into it, every improvement that you put into it is basically helping it be worth more in the long term down the road. Now, if you put $70,000 into your house on certain items that don't add value, but maybe make your house more tolerable, maybe it's more visually aesthetic, those types of things, good. That's your personal decision, and that your quality of life should be better with that. Now, consult with agents to see where the most money is. Typically, in the kitchen, in the primary bath, and then the secondary baths are usually the first places that you want to spend your money in if you're wanting to get your money back. I would say around here as well in the League City, Houston area, is it's a really big deal if you make your backyard a nice little escape, a little oasis, maybe a pool, an outdoor kitchen, a covered patio, a pavilion, you name it. What you add to the outside in your backyard, a lot of times are going to get more bang for your buck than what you would doing improvements on the inside. So great. Okay. What a fantastic concept. If you're thinking about doing things to improve your home, let's talk about it, and I'll help you make those decisions. So feel free to do that. That's what these questions are, comments, chat, you name it. That's what this is for. We're here to help. I want to help and be as informational as I possibly can. I'm not here to just collect a commission. Okay. I know plenty of agents that are like that. And then they run straight to the local designer bag shop and buy themselves a new Louis Vuitton. So anyways, not that guy. So anyways, moving on to other stuff in the news, that $200 billion injection with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and then the eliminating of hedge funds from being able to purchase, specifically BlackRock, I think is who they're aiming towards. The reason that it's almost like cheating for those hedge funds to invest in real estate should tell you what you should be investing in. I mean, tell me the best investment vehicle without telling me the best investment vehicle. And notice that the largest hedge funds in the country are using real estate to increase their portfolios. So there's your sign, as Jeff Foxworthy would say. Anyways, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to come on here, talk about kind of the news that's going on in League City. I mean, not a ton of big news going on. I feel like a lot of it's been played out already with other agents, like doing their map videos and stuff for Google and whatnot. And that's just not news anymore. I don't want to be a regurgitator of things that are not newsworthy at the moment. And yeah, if you have questions, there's two big things that we have coming up in the new year. All right. One of the things that I really want to talk about is what we're doing is we're creating hot sheets. And a hot sheet in real estate talk is typically new listings, just reduced, like some sort of change in the market with particular houses, right? And they have a thing that shows up in our MLS when we log in that's called a hot sheet, and it shows all these things that are going on, expireds, withdrawns, terminateds, newly listed, coming soons. All of those are on this hot sheet, right? Hot list. And we have found that in our open houses and whatnot, that a lot of times that people come to us and they say, hey, Troy, like, we really love this neighborhood. However, all the stuff that's out there on the market right now, we've already seen it. None of it works for us. None of these are our dream home. Do you happen to know anything that's coming up in the market? Yes, we do. And this has been the case for a long time because we have people who are planning to list with us down the road, especially in the neighborhoods that we work all the time. Our farms are very strong. We love them very much because they have brought us a ton of business. They continue to support us. They continue to trust us to sell their homes and get as much equity out of them as they can to be able to move on to the next one, which is great. We love that. And we want to take it a step further. We want to be more valuable to you in the fact that we are going to hunt and seek out who is planning on listing in 2026. And we want to be able to, I'm not going to give out addresses or anything, but I will say, well, what are you looking for exactly? And they'll say 4-bedroom plus 3-bath, maybe 3.5 bath with a pool, this, that, whatever, 1-story, 2-story, whatever. And with that being the case, we then know that we can find them a property that's coming soon that may be a better fit for them than what's currently on the market. And so we're going to do our best to play matchmaker, where we find buyers for our potential sellers. And keep in mind, guys, I really don't care if you don't plan on listing with us. If you're going to list with Susie B, local realtor that happens to be your cousin's mom's sister's brother, great. I don't care about that particular part of it. What I want to do is I want to be able to match one of our potential buyers with your listing. I would love to list your home. However, to me, it's more important to find what one side or the other is looking for. I just want to move homes in this area. I want sellers to be able to sell and move on to the next thing. I want buyers to be able to find out a house that they're looking for and be able to be happy in that home for at least 5 years. That's my goal. I want you to be happy in your home for at least 5 years. If circumstances change and things happen, which they do, then we're here to help. And at the same time, let's find a way to move this logjam that we've had for the last 3 years. So if we can do that, the plan is that we're going to we're flyering our farms. We're letting people know like this through podcasts, video, whatever. We're doing all these things to try to make sure that we can match sellers with buyers and vice versa. Great. So that's one of our big pushes too. And then on top of that, we're also going to be adding this to our open house stuff that we talk about. We're going to do a webinar for buyers and sellers the last week of the month. As of right now, the plan is that Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Central Time, local time, we will host a webinar that we would love for people to sign up for. And then it'll be similar to this, where it's going to be a live webinar. We will do our presentation. We'll have where you can ask questions in the chat, and we will have other agents that are on the team answering those questions in the chat. And if it's a great question that we need to stop for, we'll stop and address that right there in the moment. And the neat thing is that we want to bring clarity to real estate. That's our goal. We want you, when you go to purchase a home, the whole roar your way home thing that we do, we want you to be very confident in the purchase of your next home. We want you to get a great deal on it. We want you to have a great inspection so you know all the issues with the home. We want to address as many of those issues as we can so that you're not saddled with those down the road. And we want to make sure that you're gaining a house that you can live in for at least the next 5 years, and then be prepared for life changes as they come. So again, roar your way home. The whole purpose is for us to lead and guide you with confidence in the home purchase, the home sale, whatever it is that you need to do in order to move on to the next part of your life. So super important that is the message that we're getting across. Again, bringing clarity and confidence to real estate. So if you guys like what we talked about today, great. Subscribe. Watch for our next stuff. We're going to be doing a fresh podcast every single week, whether it's a local expert of some sort, maybe a referral partner of ours in a different part of the country, and they're going to tell you about their market and then what makes them special, because they all have things that they do that are better than everybody else in their market. They get the chance to tell us what they do and teach us what makes them different, which is great. I love it. And then on top of that, we're going to be doing these types of real estate news updates. We'll be doing these again every Thursday, 8 p.m. I'm going to take time out of my day to do this every single week, and hopefully allow you guys to have Q&A and address all the cool things that are kind of going on in our market, around our market, and in the real estate industry in general. So like I said, click subscribe. That way you get to know what's coming up, and then also get to see, get notified every time we have new things. So click the bell as well to make sure that you find out what's new. All right. Be ahead, be useful to your neighbors. Cause that's the other thing is that your neighbors are asking these same questions. And for you to be the person that knows everything is going to make you the, basically the envy of the rest of the neighborhood because you're going to be the one that's informed and you're going to be the one that everybody comes to find out what's new. And hopefully I help make you be that. So until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe, like I said, and I'll see you next Thursday for sure, 8 p.m. Central Time.